Hey there, and welcome back to Feminine Initiate. I'm your host, Jess West. I hope you're having an incredible day so far. Today, I want to talk to you about the Law of Gestation, which sits right up there alongside the Law of Attraction. The Law of Gestation states that if you plant a seed and nourish it, you will be able to harvest it at the end of its growth cycle. We know that it takes about 10 to 12 days for a seed to begin to sprout, and a few weeks before we can actually harvest the vegetable from it. We also know that it takes 9 months before a baby is birthed into this world. And though we may not have a specified ETA, estimated time of arrival, for our manifestations, we can rest assured that as long as we plant that seed of desire, that we nourish it, it will soon become our reality, because this is simply law. However, we often interfere with this law of gestation by sending mixed signals that can delay the end result or the realization of our manifestation, or halt the process altogether, and we never actually experience that desired result. If you've set yourself a manifestation goal and are wondering when you're going to get it, when are you actually going to receive that manifestation of yours, then this episode is for you. And if you've been in the manifestation space for some time, you've likely already heard that when it comes to manifestation, the only thing that we really need to concern ourselves with is the what and the who of our goal. So, what is it that you truly, truly want? Have that vision clearly defined, and also identify who you need to become to have received that goal. Who will you be once you are truly living your manifested reality? This is the who. And then when it comes to the how and the when, we just have to leave that up to universe, source, God, nature, whatever you want to call it. We need to leave those two questions to a higher power. And though I agree with this, I believe that we hold a really powerful influence over the how and the when of our manifestations. And I'm going to share that with you in just a second. But first, I want to highlight a couple of the main ways in which we end up interfering with the law of gestation and sabotaging our manifestations. And it comes down to really sending mixed signals to the universe. Make no mistake, the universe is always responding to us. We are creating our own personal reality. There's another universal law that supersedes everything, and that is the law of vibration. This law states that everything in the universe is vibrating, and that vibration attracts its likeness. Like attracts like energy. And it's also saying that we're always manifesting, whether that manifestation is the outcome that we desire or not. The universe is always responding to our vibration. And our vibration isn't what we say we want, it isn't what we think that we want, but it's how we feel. Oftentimes, because we don't have a definite date of when our goal is going to be accomplished, we don't have that exact timeline, we can end up feeling impatient. I remember I've manifested things that took a couple hours to come to life, and I've manifested things that took a few months and even years to be able to be my lived experience. And when those months were passing by, when I didn't have any obvious sign on the outside world telling me that my manifestation is on its way, it's really hard to remain faithful that that goal is coming. It's really hard not to get impatient. And some of us during those times may even start complaining. Why hasn't my goal achieved yet? Where is my manifestation? Why isn't it here? And no matter how much we try, forgetting that the how isn't up to us, but we can be forceful in our actions to make our manifestation come sooner than its timeline is really set for us, we end up not feeling, no matter how much action we're putting in, we're not feeling like we're getting any closer. And this could lead to us feeling frustration, bitterness, Or have you ever heard someone say, oh, manifestation, yeah, I tried that before. It's just not for me. We can end up resenting the whole process altogether because it's just not working, no matter how much effort we're putting in. But let's look at what's actually happening with our vibration here. Because when we're feeling impatient, it's because we're looking around and realizing that our manifestation isn't here, that there's not even a sign yet. And so we're experiencing the lack of our manifestation. We're feeling lack. And when we're feeling lack, we're sending those lack signals to the universe, which means that the universe is only going to respond to us by sending us more lack, more of the same of that vibration. Like attracts like. The universe is always responding to our energy. And a lot of people like to think that the universe is testing us. It likes to make sure that what we want is truly what we want. So it'll send us different, circumstances or different things that we have to get through in order to prove that what we want is truly what we want. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that the universe actually tests us. I believe that when we describe the universe that way, it's just our human way of trying to personify everything to feel more connected. We do this with so many things. We personify so many things, thinking that they have feelings, that they have their own unique personalities, when the universe isn't a person. It doesn't have a personality. It operates by law and it responds to our energy. So, we know that it takes 10 to 12 days for a seed to begin to sprout. Can you imagine if we would dig up that seed every other day to check on it, to make sure that it's still there, to make sure it's still doing its thing? We would just end up harming that seed and we would never be able to reap the harvest of it. You know that when you plant a seed, you must have patience, that you must continue to nourish it because you trust that much of the growth of that little seed is happening below the surface, below what you can see. And this is the same for our manifestations. Just like when we have a vision on our imagination, it's in the invisible realm, but we have to trust that things are coming together in ways that we cannot yet see. I love Bob Proctor's definition of patience because according to him, he said that patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to maintain faith and keep positive attitude while waiting. The process of gestation is all about remaining faithful to our vision, believing that it will soon be our manifested reality, and continuing to move forward with that thought in mind. Another way that we often sabotage our manifestation and totally confuse the law of gestation is when we constantly change our mind. And this could be due to our impatience. We get impatient that the result isn't here yet, and so we're reaching for something else that feels more likely. But it can also be due to the fact that we didn't take our responsibility of defining the what of our goals seriously enough. If we don't have a clear vision of what it is that we want, it's really hard to remain emotionally invested in it. It's hard to convince ourselves that we will achieve our goal because we don't quite know what that end result is even going to look like. We didn't take the time to truly define it. And I see this as having like this faint vibration. We're always vibrating, but if we don't have that clear crystal image, it's like our vibration is dull. It's almost like it's a blur or it's like flatline. We're not really excited about it because we don't really know what it is. And so the universe has a hard time knowing what it is that we want. So it's sending us more of like that dull flatline vibration, more circumstances and things that will result in us feeling dull, flatlined, almost directionless. And when we're not emotionally involved with our goal, it's also easy to get distracted by another goal. Maybe something else that seems better. It seems like you could achieve it faster. Maybe you've seen others around you that are achieving things and you're thinking, oh, well, I want to do that too. So one day you set your goal and maybe you're focusing on it for a couple days. You're doing the vision board, you're doing the affirmations, you're doing all of the things until something else comes up that seems interesting. And so a few days later, you end up changing your goal altogether, and then you start focusing on that instead. This is what you're going after. And then a few weeks later, something else comes up and you end up changing your mind again, and you end up going nowhere. But it's important to know that there's still momentum happening. Again, things are shifting, but it's in the unseen realms. You cannot yet see it, but you're creating momentum, but you're shooting that momentum all over the place that you're kind of just staying paralyzed. You're not shooting that momentum in one place long enough to actually begin to see the real results happening. And unfortunately, this also happens when we don't yet believe in our goal, or when we don't yet believe that we're worthy of the goal. So maybe we did take the time to clearly define that what. We see what it is, it's beautiful, and it creates such warm feelings within us. However, part of us still doesn't believe that we're worthy of it. Part of us is still entertaining doubts and fears. And so this gestation period that we have is one of the perfect times to do the inner work. Because when we really pay attention to ourselves, we are going to become aware of some of the limiting beliefs that we're holding, the fears that we're holding. And this is the perfect time to challenge those beliefs, to challenge our fears, and to calm our nervous system, to let our nervous system know that this is what we want. And when we're living our manifested reality, that end result, we are still going to be safe. Because that's truly the concern of our nervous system. It wants to keep us safe. And anything outside of the norm, we know, anything outside of our comfort zone is going to be scary. And our nervous system isn't sure if it's going to be safe for us. And so this gestation period is the time when we want to really be aware of our emotional state. Our emotions are energy in motion. And if we don't know how to heal, manage, and steady our emotions, we're not going to be able to manifest those big goals. And we're going to feel stuck with just going in circles. So the main challenge when it comes to manifestation and this law of gestation is that we don't know that exact schedule. We don't know when that deadline is, that estimated time of arrival is of our manifestation. Like I said, some come quick, some manifestations take longer. And when we really think about it, thank God that it does take that time. Thank God for the law of gestation, because can you imagine if we just manifested our desires instantaneously based on our emotions, whatever we're feeling, here it is. I swear we would have blown up the world now for sure. And so thank goodness for the law of gestation. Thank goodness for that period for us to really level our emotions and get on board with our vision before it actually becomes a reality. But let's talk about how we can actually influence the how and the when of our manifestation. How I believe that we hold a great power on this law of gestation. I believe that the speed in which we manifest our desires is to the degree of us knowing in our outcome. Knowing is the key word here. And if you haven't yet listened to episode 166 on the podcast that I titled Climbing the Ladder of Belief for Faster Manifestation, I highly recommend that you do, because I'm referring back to the 4 steps in that ladder. The steps are need, want, believe, and know. And we want to climb the ladder of belief. And once we get to that last step, once we know that we are living our desires, once we're so certain of the outcome, and once every cell in our body is on board knowing that we're living our desired life, then we fuse with that belief, and the outside world will mold itself to match. As within, so without. This is law. And so again, our job during this period of gestation is to keep the conditions favorable, meaning making sure that we believe in our vision and we're eliminating any of these limiting beliefs, any of these fears. We are putting our full belief in our vision, that we're demonstrating enthusiasm and excitement towards our vision, knowing that it's coming, and that we're giving steady effort. And then we let the universe, nature, God, source handle the rest. The key is to not give up too soon, to keep going, even if you don't yet see proof on the outside world that your reality is here. It is first created inside yourself. Everything in the world that was man-created was created twice. First in the imagination, and then it was materialized into physical form. So if you don't yet see it hold true, you are the creator of your own personal reality. And it first starts in the mind. The idea of giving up too soon often makes me think of the story in Think and Grow Rich, if you've read that book. And this story is about a man during the gold rush who gave up mining too soon. This man bought a big parcel of land and started mining. And he struck some golds, and that got him really excited. So he approached his neighbors to invest in his mine. But shortly after he did this, he lost the gold vein. It was just gone. So he dug for weeks and weeks and weeks, but couldn't find anything. His neighbors were then getting upset with him because they wanted their investment back. And so finally, he decided to sell the mine and the equipment to a junk man. The junk man then decided to hire an environmental expert to come and examine the property. And the expert told him that the vein had shifted 3 feet from where the previous owner was digging. So the junk man then began digging in the area that he was advised to dig and struck millions upon millions of gold. Again, because the process of manifestation is an energetic process, the majority of the work is happening in the invisible realms. We can be so much closer to our goal than we think that we are. I want to touch on the how now too, because though it is said that the how isn't our responsibility, it obviously requires our involvement. Manifestation does require our work, which I know is a common misconception. A lot of people think that, oh, manifestation, I'm just going to sit here and be in my imagination and do nothing. And that is so wrong. We need to take inspired action. How do we know what inspired action to take? Well, this requires going into our imagination, truly visualizing our end result vision, our manifested reality, and allowing ourselves to become that version of ourselves, having achieved all of our desires. Really becoming that person, feeling yourself into your goal. And the more that we do this, the more that we are moving ourselves up to that last step in the ladder of belief, which is the knowing. So once you identify, how would I behave at my end result? How would I feel? Who am I truly at that end result? What kind of actions would I take? When you begin thinking from that end, knowing that this is your reality and knowing that it's only a matter of time before I am experiencing that manifested reality, then you will feel inspired to take the next step of action. And this is how we can fast track our manifestation process, by taking the action that lights us up. And so looking back at the man who is 3 feet from gold, the original owner, and then he sold his mine, I really don't believe that he was operating from a state of knowing with absolute certainty that he was going to make millions from his mine. Because if he did, would he have not hired an expert to come check out the property and give him advice? Would he have not found out what specialized knowledge he needs in order to make, be mining and be successful with it? Would he not have invested that kind of money because he was so sure that he was going to strike millions in his mine? I don't think he knew. And so when we're really clear on our vision and when we visualize us at the end result, when we really feel that, we are climbing up that ladder of belief. And once we get to the point of knowing this is our truth, we are going to live this reality. I am this version right now. You will feel moved into action. I promise you that. If you tune into yourself in those states, visualizing, being that version of yourself, living your desired life, if you tune in to how you feel, you will feel a lightness, or you're going to feel a slight inclination towards doing a certain something or going a certain somewhere, talking to a certain someone. And when you do that thing, when you take that inspired action, you are going to accelerate your manifestations. Plus, one of the best things about this is that you're going to have so much fun in the process. I mean, think about it. When you are truly believing in your desired outcome, knowing that it's just a matter of time before you're actually living that life and you're behaving as though you are living that life right now, then what's the rush? Aren't you going to be feeling good? Aren't you going to be having so much fun? And isn't that the entire point of life? And so at that point, when you're just already embodying the qualities, already embodying that belief, and you're just being that, the actual physical manifestation of what you want is just a bonus at that point because you're already loving life and feeling so good. And so the gestation period of our goal, that time, is actually a beautiful time for us to get acquainted with our end result vision, to truly embody the qualities of that person that we will be, to truly believe in our outcome to the point that we're taking that last step and we know that it is our reality. The period of gestation is the time for us to climb that ladder of belief if we're starting off from that last step. And so I hope that this episode encourages you, no matter where you are in your manifestation journey. Remember that everything was created twice, first in the imagination, and then it was materialized into physical form. So hold your vision, romanticize it, become it, have fun with it. Your goal is so much more closer than you think, and you have a great influence on when you will receive your manifestation. It is a matter of climbing that ladder from need, want, believe, and know. And once you know with 100% of your body, no doubt at all, it has no choice but to become your physical experienced reality as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this resonated with you. And if you know of someone who can benefit from this episode, then please share it with them. Have a fantastic week. And until next time, be empowered. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And I'll see you next time.